So you love the Terminator. You want a sequel. You want to get one of the best sequels ever made. You want a review of one of the best sequels ever made. Well, you come to the right place, because this is my review of Terminator 2: Judgment Day. It has been 10 years since the Terminator failed to kill Sarah Connor and her unborn son John in an attempt to alter the course of the future. With the young John Connor now a vulnerable child, Skynet decides to try again. However, a reprogrammed T-800 is sent back through time to be John's protector against the more advanced T-1000, who intends to kill the future leader of the human resistance. The liquid metal Terminator can take on the form and appearance of any person, making him a far more deadly and cunning adversary. After learning of the danger her son is in, the military-trained and psychologically unbalanced Sarah Connor takes it upon herself to escape from the Pescadero Mental Hospital, where she has been locked up in for years. Once realizing the truth of everything, John makes it a mission to rescue his mother before the T-1000 can reach her. Narrowly escaping and becoming fugitives in the process, Sarah learns the details of the origins of Skynet from the Terminator himself and the man who would create it in Miles Dyson. This ultimately propels everyone to take on a new risky mission in the hopes that they can potentially prevent Judgment Day from ever happening. So with the breakout success of the original Terminator in 1984, both James Cameron and Arnold Schwarzenegger were launched into very successful and lucrative careers, while many people very much clamored for a sequel to the film. But it's very interesting that no one really rushed into the whole thing, that James Cameron had plenty of other projects that he wanted to work on, Aliens, The Abyss, and Arnold was completely in demand, just having hit after hit after hit in the action genre for the several years between the two films. But it ultimately came that James Cameron and Arnold Schwarzenegger really wanted to push forward and really develop a sequel because there was such a great demand for it, but they were very smart in that they didn't want to, again, rush into something. They didn't want to just throw something together just to cash in. They really wanted to develop something very smart and very purposeful. They didn't want to make a film unless it was the right film to make. And so it did take them a full 7 years between the first film to ultimately develop, produce, and finally release on July 3rd, 1991, Terminator 2: Judgment Day. And with a $102 million budget, this was the most expensive film ever produced up to that point, and luckily earned back $519 million at the box office, and became, to date, Arnold Schwarzenegger's highest grossing film, and for absolutely exceptional reasons, because when you get James Cameron together with Arnold Schwarzenegger, you just get a certain amount of match. You get something a little better than you usually get outside of that, because there's something about those two that James Cameron just knows how to write and direct Schwarzenegger to the absolute best of his abilities. Because, yeah, Arnold, he's not the best actor. He's got limitations. He's not a wide-range actor, but when you got someone who just knows him inside and out, knows his talent, knows how to just focus him and put him in the right directions, you get something that's just absolutely fantastic, because I think his performance in this film is just exceptional, that he does such a fantastic performance, that his character, because it was one of those things where Arnold wanted to come back and be the hero this time. They wanted to flip things around, and Cameron really just wanted to push things completely different levels, that this was just like completely flip of the first film from a little budget to the biggest budget ever had, and just absolutely everything that could be done within his imagination, within his grasp, was there to actually create and craft an amazing script with great ideas. And Schwarzenegger's performance in this film just adds so much depth and character and emotion to that. That is one of the most exceptional things about this whole film, that you get this character, this one that from the first film, he's this deadly killing machine, this uncaring, this cold, murderous creature, and now in this film he's reprogrammed and altered, and it slowly becomes more human throughout the course of the film, that you get an arc with this character that you never would have imagined seeing the first one would ever possibly occur, but you get this great arc with this character that the whole relationship between the Terminator and John Connor in this film is hit on the absolute perfect beat, just like the Kyle Reese Sarah Connor relationship in the first film. That is the same thing here. That is the parallel. That is the allegory between the two films, that you get that sort of father-son type of relationship in a type of way where the Terminator is like a surrogate father to the young John Connor, and just a fantastic arc that the character goes through. Also, I mean, everyone goes through arcs in this film. John Connor starts as this kid who's just a punk delinquent and everything, but he grows, he changes, he begins to mold himself into the character that he would need to be in the future if it were to still happen. But yet Edward Furlong just never really had an acting career before this, and just kind of plucked out of obscurity and put with the right director to actually craft, again, a fantastic performance that obviously Cameron had previous experience working with a child actor on Aliens, and I think did a magnificent job working with Edward Furlong here to craft such a touching and great performance with him. You just connect with these characters on such a deep, emotional, personal level in this film that it's such a fantastic melding of emotion that Cameron is such a master of. That he just, that's what I love about Cameron. Like I said, just his depth of emotion and his action blockbusters, it's just unparalleled to me that no one else quite does it the way he does it, and no one does it quite as well as he does it. And of course you've got Linda Hamilton here just going in a completely different direction than she was in the first film, because when Linda Hamilton said, "I'll join the film, I'll do the film, but I've got to be crazy," James Cameron made her freaking crazy as hell, because this is a character that has been haunted and screwed up for all these years since the events of the first film, and again haunted by all the things that Kyle Reese told her about the future, knowing that this date is inevitable, knowing everything is coming, that she can't stop it, and just changing her look on the world, that everything around her just looks, she just sees dead people everywhere, just sees nothing, everything is just obliterated to her like it's already happened. And there's just the amazing physical conditions she got into this film to make her look like such a raw, lean beast that just, this looks like a completely different Sarah Connor, who just looks like the militarized monster that she had to become to be the Sarah Connor that this film demanded, and the training that she went through, everything made her look fantastic in this movie. But it really is the softer, more shaken, deeper emotions of the character that Linda Hamilton just shines through in this film, that the moments where she like breaks down later on, where she tries to go and kills Dyson, she just breaks down and realizes she can't be like a Terminator. She can't be a cold-hearted, merciless machine to try to save the future. She is human. She has emotion. She can't look a man in the eye and just blow his brains out. She just realizes that, and just the embracing between Sarah and John in that moment is fantastic. That she thanks him for coming to try and stop her, because it's just amazing. These moments of emotion in the film are absolutely spectacular to me, that they are the core, they are the substance, they are what holds this film up to such a greater degree, in my opinion. The softness, the motherly qualities about it, the humanity emerges out of that tough, hardened, scarred exterior and everything. You really see that progress throughout the whole film, and Linda Hamilton does a fantastic performance in this film. Absolutely. And Joe Morton is always just such a great actor too. This guy that just has just emotes so much great emotion. Everything I see him in, he's such an expressive actor and does such a great job in this film with a lot of the emotion that he has to bring forth in just a few scenes. But you see, even from the beginning, that he isn't this guy with this vile intentions. This guy who has a family. He's an average guy who just loves his family, sees all the good that the technology can offer, and then once he realizes the deadly side of everything, that he flips a coin. There's not that indecision. It's just like it has to be destroyed. But of course, you can never deny Robert Patrick's performance as the T-1000, because this was a marvel. That the technology and the performance together created an absolutely unforgettable villain of cinema history that, again, like with the first film, Cameron molded a certain type of performance out of Schwarzenegger to be that precision, efficient type of killer. And this time was a little different, that it kind of harkened back to Cameron's original idea for the Terminator, that he'd be a much more innocuous type of figure, that he wouldn't be someone that would kind of stand out in a crowd. He would very much blend in very easily, very unassuming type of figure. But Robert Patrick's performance is just so damn good in this thing that you don't really have to say a whole lot, but he definitely deserves to have a lot said about that. He just, that smooth, slinking type of cipher quality he has, that he's like a serpent in the film. Just every look he has, how he moves through a scene, the fluidity of it, and just the little things that he is a much more blending in type of character, that he can speak to people and not have them assume anything, that he very much can reflect emotions or whatnot, and just have that sort of rapport and everything, that he can really kind of mask that he is a machine, that he can seem warm and inviting and just unassuming in a certain way, but it's just that you can always get that little sense of something sinister behind him, even with a little bit of Brad Fiddel's fantastic score with this film. Just that great little theme that Brad Fiddell created for the T-1000 really adds something to it. Just the whole package of it, the execution, between direction and the performance and the music of it, just like it creates an overall type of aura for this Terminator that is much different from Arnold's. It's just like they're both fantastic and they're both great in their own type of ways, and they add so many great things. And obviously the visual effects were absolutely positively groundbreaking and just bursted people's eyes open when they saw the T-1000 walking out of that fire after the crash and the chase scene and everything. Man, people just like, it just turned everyone on. And just how the film continues to do such imaginative, inventive things with the character as it goes along. It's just fantastic effects that still amazingly hold up today. That is another one of those things similar to Jurassic Park, that they used the right effects where they need to be used, that they didn't use CGI every single opportunity they possibly could. They used it when it was necessary and employed other effects techniques when they were the proper tool to use for those things. And just from the first scene of this film with the effects of the future war sequence, you just see this film is just epic. That's the one thing about this film. You go from a much more smaller, tighter, sort of lean type of first film to the just first scene of this film. Big, epic future war sequence that looks absolutely spectacular with every single effect used, whereas the animatronics, the visual effects, the miniatures, anything at all just bursts open the floodgates of this film. Just says, this is exactly what you're in store for. And the opening title sequence of this film is probably one of the best ever made, with Brad Fiddel's fantastic theme for this film, going over the burning landscapes and everything after the nuclear Judgment Day had hit. Just like, man, it's just fantastic imagery and a beautiful score overall. I just listened to this entire score CD today, and like, it's just so many great things. And when you listen to it on its own, you can pick up on things you never heard just watching it in the film. But overall, it's just fantastic work with the visual effects and the music in this film. But you can have all that stuff. You can have great action too, which this film is absolutely spectacular at, with all the stunt work and all the fantastic intense stuff with the chase sequences and the gun battles and all the amazing type of things that it does. But you need the substance, you need the story in this film. I love what this film does, that it does what a sequel is supposed to do. That it takes everything that was established in the first film, expands on it, and takes it into new, exciting, interesting directions. That, again, it starts out similar to the first film. You get two people showing up from the future. One's here to hunt, one here to protect. And it goes along with the action sequences and converging all the characters into the same path and everything. But in that second act, you get everything diverting off to a different place, and realizing there's a potential to alter the future, prevent Judgment Day, and go off in a different direction, explore different places where this story can go. It's not just a carbon copy repeat of the first film, despite having parallels, intentional sort of parallels between the first film and whatnot, sort of familiar language between the two films, that you can pick up on certain language, certain moments and beats and imagery and whatnot, but it turns it on its head. It turns it into different places at certain times, but it also goes off in different directions with that storyline and also the development of the characters. Like I said, John Connor, the T-800, Sarah Connor, everyone grows and evolves in this film in such a fantastic, powerfully emotional type of way that it is the emotion of this film that just launches it into a different era, different place than a lot of other big blockbusters do, that this adds in between all the epic action this film has, all the epic effects, all the big scale type of stuff. It matches it with epic scale, emotion, and characters, and depth and dimension to everything it has. But like I said, the action in this film cannot go understated, cannot go overlooked, can't shortchange at all, because it has some great, fantastic action sequences, from that first chase sequence down the sort of dry bed and everything with the Mack truck and the motorcycle chase and everything. Fantastic stuff. Again, still showcasing fantastic cinematography and some great editing too. Just, I love in the climax of the film where you got the two Terminators just throwing the living hell down, man. That's great stuff. Just like, you see that these are physically well-matched type of things, and you can see the T-1000 can kick anyone's ass. If he can kick the T-800's ass almost to destruction, you know you're in deep shit. And just like, that's some great stuff right there, that you get some great action throughout this whole film, and everything leading up to the climax, even though it does seem a little too much like they're kind of going off and mirroring the first film, maybe just a tad too much. That's one of the things I've always kind of like held a little bit against it. That's like, at certain points it just feels like if they went a little bit something different. They didn't just keep carbon copying certain things from the previous film, that it didn't seem like you're just remaking the sequence with a bigger budget. But it's not to discount the quality of what is executed overall. That, again, Cameron uses all the effects in the right ways. I like that type of stuff in the film, that you use the editing and the effects in the right way to craft the best sequence possible, and just like, so much great action. And I remember when this film was being made, there were TV news programs here in Chicago covering the destruction, the stunt destruction of that building, the Cyberdyne building, on the news. It's just like, I remember that this film was so big, so anticipated. Stunt sequences were getting national exposure when it was getting made. That's how big this movie was. That it was so anticipated, and such a big stunt, such big production values, and doing such new stuff with it overall, that just like innovative. James Cameron's just an innovative filmmaker, that this is still at the apex of his career, when he was still crafting great stories, but still pushing the medium of film forward, the effects, everything you could possibly do with that type of budget, showing the money on the screen. You're damn certain he did, because it is all there with the physical stuff, the revolutionary new digital effects. Everything that he did with this film is completely on screen. When I think of big budget blockbuster, this is the standard bearer for me these days. Just like, when I think of an event, summer blockbuster, it is Terminator 2 that my mind goes to, because that was the big thing that I hadn't seen the film, but I knew the cultural lexicon of it. I knew Hasta la Vista, baby. I knew, without even having seen it, because it was so prevalent throughout pop culture, you just couldn't escape it. It was just such a fantastic event experience that even if you didn't see the film, you know the film. It's an amazing type of thing that you just don't quite get that type of thing anymore, because there's just so many blockbusters. The release schedules are so jam-packed now with so many event films that it doesn't feel quite as special as it did when this film was released in the theaters and just absolutely broke box office records and just became one of the biggest hits of all time, in my opinion, in terms of quality, in terms of cultural significance and everything. Just like, people know Terminator 2. And his popularity continued on into home video when the special edition cut of the film was released, which contains several additional scenes that do add a certain extra substance to the film, because a lot of them just deal with more of the characters. They develop them further, that some of them you can probably do without, and that the theatrical cut is the better paced version. But there is certainly at least one or two scenes that I sorely missed when I watched the theatrical cut. and one of those being the chip removal scene between when they go to flip the switch on the Terminator's chip to allow him to actually be able to learn and adapt and everything. And it's a very pivotal, strong scene between the characters of John and Sarah, that John has to make the decision not to destroy the chip and destroy the Terminator overall, and just that sort of tipping of the scales of authority in that type of relationship, that John asserts himself, he takes control. And possibly that extra scene with Miles Dyson where he's at his home with his family talking to his wife about all the positives that he can see that this technology can offer humanity. And just he kind of becomes the Sarah Connor of the first film, that he is that equivalent, that allegory to the first film, that he's this guy that he's going to be thrust in this situation that he doesn't even know that he could handle or whatnot, and he becomes sort of a sacrifice to the whole film. But it's just that it adds that extra depth to the character, that when you see Sarah go to try and kill him, that you already know what type of guy this is, that he doesn't have malicious intent, that he is just another guy like Sarah was in the first film, that he's just an innocent guy trapped into a situation that he just never perceived he could possibly be involved with. But Special Edition is still a very strong cut of the film, but not as well paced as the theatrical. Then there's also a third cut of the film which adds in 2 additional scenes that are pretty much extraneous and just there for just an alternative sort of fashion. There's a additional scene of the T-1000 searching John's room for clues to find where Sarah Connor is, which is pretty unnecessary. And then there's this alternate ending for the film which really doesn't tonally fit at all, kind of like would have kept us from getting additional sequels, which I obviously am going to be talking about here, but not really fitting with the film, with the tone of it, saying like all the future never happened, Judgment Day never happened, it's all nice, bright, and happy and everything. Doesn't really fit. The ending for this film that was released is perfect. That is just perfect. The tone, the feeling of it all, the emotion that goes through in that final scene is just so powerful in this film that, like I said, everything just progresses onto such a fantastic, powerful level with this film, that you get that final narration from Sarah that if a Terminator can learn the value of her human life, maybe we can too. And it just a fantastic grace note for James Cameron in this franchise, because aside from the T2 3D sort of amusement park ride that he would do, this should be, to date, his final involvement with the franchise. But it couldn't be a better way to go out, because watching this film again, I think it hit me on a harder, stronger level than it ever has before, because my opinion of it has increased substantially, that I possibly almost be convinced now that this is a better film than the first, that I do enjoy it this time around better than the first film. I just felt the emotion of it stronger. I just felt everything on such a deeper level, that everything just hit me stronger. Everything just worked better for me. Whatever it was, just watching the theatrical cut of it, just everything worked, and then still left me wanting more of those scenes I didn't see in that cut. It's like, it's just such a damn good movie, that the action is on such a spectacular, excellent level, that just showed you action sequences you had not seen before. The quality of them, the stunt work, all the mind-blowing type of effects that this film had, just hit you on such a grander level than you'd ever seen before. It changed action movies. This set the standards, set the tone for every action movie throughout the rest of the damn decade, and possibly forever from that point out. That everything just had to raise up to a larger, more epic scale level to really kind of wow an audience, show them something they had not seen before. And just James Cameron, just like, that's the guy to do it. At that point in time, he was the guy to do that, to kind of push things further, innovate things, and just make it a deeper, stronger, more substantive, and more epic film overall. Just like Terminator 2 Judgment Day is just one of the best sequels ever made. That is a statement I am standing by now, that I love this film. Just so damn good. Had to pick up the Blu-ray. Had to do it. Just had to do it. There's no extra features, but I gotta do it. It's $5. Why am I not gonna buy a T2 on Blu-ray for $5? Gotta do it. But ultimately, I want to know what you guys think of Terminator 2 Judgment Day that a lot of people do like it more than the first film. People think it is a superior film. Some people think the first film is superior. It's a very kind of close race depending on what your taste is. If you like the more slick, more high quality, higher production value, big bombastic summer action blockbuster, or do you like something a little bit more down and dirty, a little bit more kind of gritty and guerrilla filmmaking style of the first film, all that kind of stuff. Let me know what you guys think, what you think is the better film, or which one you just love more. And since this is the final James Cameron involvement of the whole franchise, let me know what you feel is the best James Cameron film of all time, and which one is your absolute favorite, because I don't know if I'll ever cover any more James Cameron films, but this is one of the best ones, and it's worth talking about. So go ahead, post your comments below, hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed what you saw here, and share the links around and everything, and we'll see. Let's hopefully see about getting the rest of the franchise covered here in due time. But covered T2 now, so it's the high point of this franchise, let's just say that. But I'll take care. You guys take care. Thanks for watching. So take care. Bye-bye.